The last 12 months were an incredible time to be a video game fan. But that's all behind us now. 2026 is a brand new year, and with that comes the natural human tendency to reflect on our actions and respond by setting mostly unhelpful goals for ourselves. That's right, it is officially New Year's resolution season. And this time around, I thought it'd be fun to look at some of the most common gaming resolutions that I've seen across social media. And let me just say up front, there are some bad goals out there. Today, I'm going to be ranking these resolutions based on how helpful or potentially disastrous I think they would be. We'll cover a wide spectrum of gaming psychology, from analysis paralysis to gaming identity and guilt, and various forms of FOMO. Finally, at the end of the video, I'll share my own gaming resolution for this year so that hopefully you guys can help to hold me accountable. Let's get into it. Resolution number 1. Don't buy any new games this year. We're starting with a popular one, so we can get it out of the way. No new games is a very common reaction to library bloat. We look at our massive collections, feel a wave of guilt, and respond with a hard rule. But even though the problem is real, this resolution completely misses the point. So it's going straight into D tier. The underlying issue isn't that we buy games. It's that our time and our access to games are moving in opposite directions. When we were younger, we had plenty of time, but very few options. As adults, it's the opposite. Less time, but infinite choice. We're surrounded by more games than we could ever play in a lifetime. And this resolution tries to solve that mismatch with an outright ban. No new games is way too rigid, and it ignores why you buy games in the first place. It turns curiosity into temptation and discipline into deprivation. When you set an all-or-nothing rule like this, rebounding is the most likely outcome. To make a better version of this goal, we should emphasize intention. Buy fewer games, and only when I'm genuinely excited about them. That shift changes everything. Instead of policing yourself, you start paying attention to your own motivations. And that is how you actually play more of the games you buy. Resolution number 2. Finish X number of games. There are a lot of output-minded gamers out there. They crave new experiences and they strive to check off as many games as they can, chasing that sense of satisfaction when they look back on the year and see just how many titles they were able to conquer. Setting a specific number of games to complete within the year may seem harmless on the surface, but this is one that I would classify as psychologically risky. There are some inevitable side effects that come with a goal anchored in volume. The first being that it incentivizes rushing. If your mind is always locked on the finish line, you're not going to let yourself truly slow down and engage as deeply with the media. The other risk is that it sets you up for end-of-year guilt if you come short of your goal, which is really just arbitrary suffering that you inflict on yourself. So for those reasons, I'm going to rank this resolution in the C tier. To improve it, I would suggest adding a qualifier. Finish games when I'm excited to see the ending. This gives you permission to drop games you aren't enjoying, but it still helps you commit to those you are. Resolution number 3. Stop pre-ordering games. I'll be honest and admit that I don't understand why someone would pre-order a game in 2026. To me, the only plausible reasons are to have the game installed as soon as it goes live, or to grab some kind of bonus pre-order bundle that gives you additional content. But in either of those cases, you could just buy the game a few hours before it launches. Pre-ordering months in advance before anyone has actually played it is just being an uninformed consumer. This one goes in A tier. It's simple, there's extremely low downside, and it will prevent hype-driven regret. Resolution number 4. Stop watching games instead of playing them. Over the last decade, we've seen a fascinating trend develop. Many gamers are actually spending more time watching other people play games than participating in the playing themselves. Live streaming has been the biggest influence to this trend because long gone are the days when the only way to watch someone play was to peer over their shoulder at the same TV. There's nothing inherently wrong with watching games, but some viewers have realized that it can steal your personal gaming time. This is an example of a displacement behavior. Watching starts to displace the playing because passive consumption is psychologically less demanding than engaging with the game ourselves. I think this is a strong resolution, and I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's phrased a bit harshly because watching can be restorative and enjoyable, but we want to make sure we're making that choice. A rephrasing that I like a little better is be mindful of when watching replaces playing and choose intentionally. Number 5, no competitive multiplayer games. Many of us need to be more thoughtful about how we engage with multiplayer games. As I've talked about in other videos, these games live on a slippery slope. They can energize us and create some of our most memorable gaming moments, but they can also drain us and lead to excessive frustration. That being said, going cold turkey on competitive multiplayer games doesn't seem like the right approach for most people. This is a classic example of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Sure, you can sidestep a source of rage, but you'll probably miss out on some of the main reasons you love games. I'm gonna put this one in C tier and suggest a much better alternative. Avoid multiplayer games that frequently leave me angry or drained. This forces you to pay attention to how you feel while playing, and then make the choice to spend your time elsewhere. If you're looking for additional tips to help you enjoy competitive games and limit your anger, I recently made a video covering 10 helpful strategies, which I'll link in the description. Resolution number 6, clear out my backlog. You knew this one was coming since it's probably the most common gaming resolution out there. But just because it's common, that doesn't mean it's wise. I have a couple problems with this, and the first is semantic. There's no universal definition of a backlog. Some people refer to their backlog as just a list of games they want to play. Others will include only games that they own and haven't finished. But regardless of how you define backlog, that word always comes with baggage. It implies that you're behind, that you have a kind of debt that needs to be cleared. It might sound insignificant, but language has power, even in our own minds. Calling a list of games a backlog does the disservice of reframing it as an obligation, which in turn makes you vulnerable to artificial urgency and stress. My hot take is that I think we should stop using the word backlog in the context of gaming, because it can make something you're supposed to enjoy feel like a chore. The other issue with this resolution is that trying to clear out a set of games puts you in the same kind of headspace as the finish X number of games goal. It prioritizes checking something off over actually having fun. As it stands, this one has to go in D tier, but let's try to improve it. If we dig a level deeper, what is someone with this resolution attempting to solve? My guess is it's some combination of the following: too many choices, regret or guilt about their purchases, and perhaps a greater desire for closure. So what if instead of trying to clear a backlog, we focus on shrinking the number of games competing for our attention right now? To do that, we could set the following resolution: actively choose which games belong in my now pile and ignore the rest. This way, you only have to care about one set of games, the ones you're currently enjoying. Everything else outside of those 1 to 3 games can just safely and peacefully exist until you choose to engage with them. No rush, no guilt, no pressure. Resolution number 7. Try an old classic that I've never played before. As a mid-90s baby, I've been lucky to experience a fantastic slice of video game history during my life. But even though I've had a chance to play many of the greatest franchises in gaming, there are still so many that I never crossed paths with. I like this resolution because it's a clean way to encourage exploration of the medium without any strings attached. Older games can usually be picked up for less money than modern titles, and they're also more likely to be on the shorter side. This is a strong A-tier resolution, and I don't see any harm in setting this goal for yourself this year. Resolution number 8. Stop doom scrolling my library and just play something. Steam offers pretty extensive metrics about your play habits. You can see exactly how many hours you've logged across every game in your library. But the one metric Steam doesn't capture is how long you spend just deciding what game you want to play. I've been caught in this loop countless times, and it doesn't feel good to realize that 30 minutes have just vanished and I still haven't clicked play on anything. I made a video earlier this year called Why You Can't Choose a Game, which goes into detail on how players are overwhelmed with decisions these days, creating a paradox of choice where more options is actually hurting our satisfaction. This resolution is pointed in the right direction because it signals that you have some awareness of wasted time due to indecision. But the main drawback is that it doesn't actually help you make a choice. I think it's fair to put this one in B tier, and I would suggest the following edit to make it more actionable. Pick a game in under 2 minutes or stop browsing entirely. And if you're interested in learning some great methods for choosing what to play, I talk about 3 different approaches I use in that video I just mentioned, all easily doable in less than 2 minutes. Link for that is down in the description. Resolution number 9. Only buy games if they're on sale. This is a deceptive one. You might set this resolution if you're trying to be more responsible with your money, thinking that it would constrain your purchasing and prevent you from blowing $70 or $80 on full-priced games. And while it may succeed at curbing new release purchases, you're actually setting yourself up for another risk, a potentially worse one. This rule effectively incentivizes bargain hunting, which means you'll be spending a lot of time looking through deal sites and Steam sales for games that might pique your interest. But if there's one thing I've learned from my mother, it's that bargain hunting can be addictive. Finding a juicy sale on a game can cause us to make purchases that we normally wouldn't have considered. So by setting this resolution, you might find that you end up buying a bunch of titles that you didn't even have a strong desire for. They just happen to be at a deep discount. For that reason, I'm putting this one in C tier. It's well-meaning, but dangerous. Here's what I would do instead. Set a budget for your game purchases this year. That way, you don't lose track of the main goal, which is to spend less on games. And you can still choose to pay full price when you value an experience high enough. Resolution number 10. Stop optimizing the fun out of every game. If you watch a lot of game dev YouTube, you may have come across this quote from former Civilization designer Soren Johnson. Given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a game. This comes from a column he wrote called Water Finds a Crack, where he explains the delicate art of balancing exploits in video games. In many cases, players can't help themselves from using strategies that give them a clear advantage with minimal risk involved. While designers can do their best to implement fixes for game-breaking exploits, they'll never be able to perfectly balance the game to suit all types of player preferences. The best they can do at that point, he says, is to put the player in control of their own experience. If you enjoy optimizing to the point of trivializing the game's difficulty, then that's a choice you'll have to make. This resolution expresses an internal tension that's been acknowledged in the player. They know that they have a habit of over-optimizing, and they want to change that. I've been on this journey for the past decade or so. For most of my life, I sought to maximize my outcomes in games and minimize risk, to the point of making some games boring. It's taken a conscious effort to adapt my mentality over the years, where now I can often catch myself over-optimizing when I see that it may ruin the experience for me. I love this goal. I think it reclaims playfulness and builds intrinsic motivation to experience games. S tier. Alright, we've made it through 10 resolutions, but I do have a handful more that are worth discussing. So let's tackle these remaining ones in a rapid fire round, and then I'll talk about my resolution for this year. Number 11, play more games with friends. This is a great goal when it aligns with your life. I think most adult gamers are probably missing out on positive social play experiences, but just be careful not to force this if scheduling or genre preferences aren't meshing. This one goes in B tier. I would add on play more games with friends when it feels energizing. Number 12, only buy a game if I'm ready to start it immediately. This is a strong friction-based solution which can definitely reduce impulse buying while still preserving your ability to choose the games you want to play. I would put this up in A tier, but might soften the language a bit to give yourself more breathing room. Only buy a game if I intend to start it soon. Number 13, get my money's worth out of my gaming subscription. This is the sunk cost fallacy just in resolution form, and it belongs in C tier. If you're paying for a gaming subscription, it should already be providing a clear value to your life. Forcing yourself to get more out of it is just another recipe for rushed, unsatisfied play. How about cancel my subscription if it doesn't genuinely excite me? Number 14, only finish games I'm truly enjoying. This is a no-brainer, automatic S tier. Don't handcuff yourself to a game that isn't bringing you joy or satisfaction. This resolution prioritizes your autonomy, it encourages you to listen to internal signals, and it's a habit that'll benefit you for the rest of your life. Just do it. Number 15, no gaming until I've earned it. Oh boy. This one is quietly common but emotionally loaded. It frames gaming, something you love to do, as a vice. Instead of creating balance, this is much more likely to lead to scarcity and thus backfire. I gotta go F tier on this one. A much better version would be decide in advance when I'm gonna game and stop when the time's up. Finally, number 16, stop feeling guilty about gaming. Gaming guilt is deeply personal and surprisingly prevalent, but it's something I haven't talked much about on this channel yet. As a resolution though, this is a strong first step and it earns a solid A tier. At its core, it removes the moral framing from play, which is a fundamental human need, not something you have to justify or earn. If you struggle with gaming guilt, keep an eye out for an upcoming video I'm working on that will go much deeper into this topic. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on so you can check it out as soon as it drops. Alright, we've covered a lot of ground in this video. We looked at some of the best gaming resolutions out there, and also talked through a few that are potentially more dangerous than they are helpful. I hope you found some inspiration that you can take into setting your own goals for the year. And I would love to hear from you guys. What is your 2026 gaming resolution? Let us know down in the comments and maybe we can inspire each other. For me, I do have one resolution that I'm setting for myself this year, and that is to try one game that's completely outside my comfort zone. I enjoy a lot of different genres, but there are still some that I tend to avoid, mostly because I've had this assumption that they won't align to my tastes. But I'm almost certainly wrong about that, at least in some cases. So this year, I want to push myself to take a gamble and expand my horizons, just a little bit. I'll be sure to document my whole experience so that, regardless of the final outcome, others might be encouraged to try the same experiment. Thank you guys for watching and for all the support over this past year. I'm wishing everyone a fantastic 2026, so get out there and play some good games. And I will see you guys in the next one.